Hey, this is Robert Zohn at Value Electronics. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. And we're going to be taking our first look at Sony's new 2021, the Master Series A90J. This is a very highly sought after television for enthusiasts that want to have the very best in video performance. So there's a lot of interest in this TV. We've been shipping them for almost 2 weeks now, but we've just received our first allocation in our store. Today we got a dozen pieces in. And we have just minutes ago set one up. And John, our calibrator, is setting up all his equipment and meters so that we can take some early preliminary results with our test patterns and test meters to see what the peak lumens is in different window sizes and see the panel uniformity and to test all sorts of elements of picture quality. We're now looking at video content that John, our calibrator, uses that he's very familiar with. So he knows what these scenes are supposed to look like, and he knows the colors and how the performance of all elements of picture quality looks on these. And after he does his calibration, he runs content that he's familiar with to make sure that the charts comply with the actual content picture quality. The availability on the 83-inch A90J, we're going to be announcing that on May 17th, the availability and the price. And it'll be shipping very, very soon after that. And this is the process of profiling the meter. Right. Once you get all these readings, you load it into the client so it knows the parameters of this panel. So the next thing we're going to read is peak lumens in HDR.
Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how it scans in SDR out of the box.
Okay.
But you know what, we'll do the HDR first, because everybody wants to know, right?
Okay, very true.
We'll do that first.
Okay, very good.
We'll take a look at that first.
And when you scan, you're scanning color.
Yeah, then we're going to, then once we do that, once we get the SDR going, then we'll go back to SDR and scan, the grayscale and the CMS.
Very good. It
looks like out of the box. And then we'll do a very quick calibration just to set the white point.
Okay, so here is our peak lumens measurements in another moment. So that's a 10% window size.
Yep, hang on.
And that was 100% peak lumens in what mode?
I'm going to look.
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
So it's about 775 nits with gradient preferred, which is pretty much what Dwayne measured.
775.
Yep. 10% window. Let's just
10% window.
Let's just see if I go brightness preferred, which is the really bright.
Okay. And what do you normally see for HDR in a 10% window on a CX or a Sony A8H?
On a Sony, it's usually like the high 5s, low 6s.
Right.
And on the
CX?
the CX about usually between 650 and 7.
Okay.
Some a little higher, some a little lower.
Okay. And this is reading 780.
No, so now I'm reading almost 1,300 nits.
1,300 nits in vivid.
Yep.
Which is what they measured in China.
Yep.
So 1,300 nits in the vivid mode.
Yep. Now here's the thing that's interesting, right? It's like everything is turned up. It's not only in vivid mode.
Right.
The brightness is all the way up. The contrast is all the way up. You got the brightness preferred tone mapping setting. That's all the way up. Everything's on high.
And it doesn't matter what the gamma setting is.
Well, let me see what it says. It's 0, which is fine.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to bring out is that, because it's HDR, so there's no gamma.
Right.
So,
right.
But the point is, what's interesting about it is everything is high. It's a little under 1,300, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing I'll tell you is it starts dropping off quickly.
Right.
So the good news is that it's pushing blue like crazy, but not too bad. And it's also deficient in green. So when we calibrate the white point, it's going to bring green up and bring blue down. So my guess is that it will be, it'll compensate. So it's not like we're bringing blue down and reducing the luminance like a lot. So it should. That's good. That's pretty good. So again, the grayscale isn't set up correctly. So I mean, this is not surprising me. It's off a little bit.
Right.
But I'm just curious.
Okay. Because we really should set the grayscale properly.
Yeah. We'll do that in a minute.
Okay. And we're calibrating for high ambient light viewing.
Yeah. Low. 150 nits.
Okay, you're doing SDR and you're capping SDR at 150 nits.
Right.
In a 10% window.
Right. So the thing with AutoCal is you have to understand how to calibrate first, and then once the AutoCal finishes, you have to look at what the result is and see where you need to modify. In other words, I use it as a tool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're unexperienced and you don't know how to calibrate, it's a great process just to get it done, and you'll get pretty good results. But you can use it as a tool to bring it close to where you need it to be, and then you can tweak it, or you can manually use it. Calibrate using the DDC controls, which is great.
Nice. Very nice. So AutoCal gets you in the ballpark, and then you could
tweak it from there.
It from there.
Yeah. Assuming that it does the right thing. Sometimes it makes mistakes,
Right.
After you do the first calibration, after how many hours should you recalibrate?
200.
No.
In other words, you want to break it in for 200 hours.
Right.
And then calibrate the set, and then it's good for a long time.
How long is a long time?
Well, if you calibrate it really
Depends on how
tight,
accurately you calibrate.
if you calibrate it tight, it will last many years.
So, at least 3 years.
I would think. I mean, it's going to start moving around every once in a while,
Yeah.
But the bottom line is...
so getting a good calibration to start keeps it more stable
correct.
For a longer time. Very
Right.
good.
Now, I'm just looking at the CMS without even touching it, and it looks pretty damn good.
And out of the box, this set was pushing blue
And deficient in green.
and undersaturated in green.
Yep. Pretty typical.
It is? Okay.
So it's tracking PQ perfectly.
It is?
Yep.
Out of the box?
No.
After calibration?
Yeah. Out of the box, it wasn't too bad. But you could see it's not bad. It's like got a maximum delta E of 0.7.
That's nothing.
Average
That's
of
great.
0.3, and a little bit of red here, which is I could probably fix this red, but probably be moving around as I'm trying to change it.
Right.
So we'll have to leave that. Oh, it's not a big deal. Leave that alone. So far, this is like typical of an A9G, only it's like brighter.
Yep.
So let's just see now. So you can see this is without the grayscale done, how crazy it looks. So let's see what it looks now with the grayscale's done. It's pushing red. I mean, you have this oversaturation in red, right?
Yeah, I see
So
that.
I can go in there and fix this, right? We'll bring it down. Yeah, but I'm going to use the DDC controls, right? See that right here? And it's got saturation of 2, which is surprising me.
Yeah.
So let's bring that down to 0
Okay.
and try it again. No, that's perfect. Okay.
Very good.
Let's see if the 100 changes.
How's this compared to the Panasonic so far?
Well, Panasonic didn't have like this red problem, But it's okay.
John, do you remember the peak lumens of the average?
Yeah,
series?
the 800 nits was the only, it's like this, the C8 and the C9, you did get some sets that were high in the high 700s, but nothing crazy, like people were seeing. There were a couple of sets like that.
But it's a
but
small
not many.
amount that could hit 800.
Right.
What was the average C8 or C9?
They're about 700, 680, 700.
680 to 700.
Yep.
Right.
I think the Panasonic has a little tighter CMS,
Right.
but yeah, okay, so it increased the luminance, reduced the saturation, that's what it did. Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, so that's good enough for now. And let's take a look at the color checker for the hell of it.
Okay.
Okay, so what's happening here is, the color checker is actually pretty good. There's one color that's a little over 1. The max is 1.3 delta E, and the average is 0.7.
That's good.
You know, when I look at this, it looks like an A9G kind of quality to me, which is what we expected.
Excellent.
Nothing crazy better or worse. Delta E max of 1 at 75% is very good, and you can see the grayscale is pretty linear, so I'm pretty happy with this.
Right.
Well, you want to see numbers below 3, but I like to get them as below 1 as I can.
Below 1 is ideal,
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing
Yeah.
here.
If your set doesn't go into HDR, go to the video signal. Ah, see that?
Oh, I see. Good.
It's going to be auto. Sometimes it doesn't jump out. But if you can't get the set into HDR, that's the trick. It's only got stuck there. Okay, let's try that again. There's no limits there. Okay. And the color's good. I mean, it's like, you know, for HDR, it's pretty good. It's like at a maximum of 2. The only thing that always bothers me with the Sony is sometimes you get this undersaturation. I'm not sure why in some of these colors. I don't know why that is.
You see it here as well?
It's a little bit, yeah. It's a little undersaturated in red and green. And I don't know if that's because the panel is just brand new. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's take a look at the P3. You know, maximum delta E of 1.8, which is pretty good on the CMS. Because what happens is it's trying to measure 100% P3. As it starts getting towards the edges, it can't get there, right? So I can tell you the Panasonic, the ones I've worked on, the GZs, are tighter than this. But this is the next best thing. I'm going to go to a pulse capture, and I'm going to change the tone mapping, bright preferred, okay? And we're going to see how it tracks or doesn't track. So the peak luminance is about the same. But what happens is it's tracking PQ towards the left, so the midtones are raised up. You know, it's sort of like the Cinema Home in LG, very similar to that. So it's making the picture look brighter, but it's inaccurate. So when you put it to brightness preferred in HDR, it's kind of looking like you would see the same kind of thing in Cinema Home HDR on the LG, which is they raise the midtones. The peak brightness is the same. It's just raising the midtones to give the person the visualization that so that it looks like it's brighter. And I'm just curious if we put it in vivid mode and see what it looks like. Remember, the reason why vivid is so bright is because it's different color temperature, and you'll see it right here. Wow, isn't that bright?
It's much cooler.
First read 1200 nits, but you'll see how it's not it's not D65. That's why it's way off. But we're going to look at the CMS. You'll see. So D65 is right there, and that's its white point. It's way towards blue, right? See that? So it's different color temperature, and you can see the blue's like off the scale here, right? It's off the chart. So the more you go towards blue, the brighter it's going to be, and that's why you're getting that 1200 nits with blue like that. So you have Dolby Vision bright and Dolby Vision dark, just like you have in the LG, and just like you had before. Having the set the offsets for Dolby Vision from SDR. Curious to see what happens when we do Dolby Vision bright. It's using the SDR offsets. It's not touching the CMS. Yeah, looks just like on the LG. So on the LG you have, Dolby Vision dark and bright. It looks like dark is the reference mode and bright is the unreferenced mode. See, it has a little problem down here on the bottom of the near black. Is a little to the right of the PQ curve, so probably getting a little black crush over here. But it's tracking okay. We'll see what the content looks like. See any tinting? I don't see any tinting. All right, so that's 1%. So you got the vignetting on the left side there. See that? A little bit on the right. 4%, 5%. Okay, so we were looking at 5% before. This looks pretty good, actually, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's when you start getting lower that, there's a little bit of vignetting on the left and right. It's not too crazy. That's 1. You see the vignetting. At 1%, this is great. It's really good. If you think about it, it's not very linear down here. It's 2% and 3%. But you don't see any crazy stuff in the middle. It's just a slight nonsense on the edges, right? Not bad. So overall, from a calibration point of view, this set calibrates, in my mind, a little bit better than the A9G. A little tighter, especially since we haven't even broken this panel in. And tinting-wise is really good.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked, actually. And banding-wise, it's really good, too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even down like to 1%, which you normally see all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
A little bit of problem on the edges, but nothing really outrageous.
You see blobs and things.
Yeah, I think Dwayne saw that, too. It's the detail is unbelievable. You know, it's something that I wouldn't have noticed, you know, before, like on the LG, for argument's sake. And on my A88, you know, my A9F, for instance, and even on the on some of the older Sonys, when you have the reality creation on, it's just not as crisp as this. I mean, it's not as good, you know, as film-like, I would say, as this. So they're doing a better job with it. That's what I'm trying to bring out, you know. And even though, like with SDR, I used to leave it off, right? You know, reality creation on the older sets. But this one here looks like, I mean, I just don't see any jaggies. I don't see anything that looks wrong, you know. So
no, you won't recognize it really with the content. When you throw on the test pattern, you'll see it.
Yeah, the specular highlights, even in SDR, are really good. You know, the whatever the process is doing a nice job, because that's where the sun is hitting, right? If the sun is like is hitting the bushes like that, you know, on those trees on the right hand side, the upper side there. It's very realistic. It's so sharp. It's incredible. But you know what the biggest? Look at the specular highlights. The specular highlights are unbelievable.
Right. Well, Sony's known for that.
Yeah, but this is really good.
Yeah.
I don't even need a reference to check that out.
That's right. It's beautiful. It's just so natural looking.
Look at that.
Yeah, I know. That's really cool. That's so cool. So real looking.
Right? It's, you know, that to me, look at that, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that picture processing is unbelievable. So now, you know, opinion is set's a winner. I mean, it's definitely got some enhanced picture processing that we haven't seen before. The near black details are better. Nothing's ever perfect, but they're really good. I haven't seen anything jump out at me that looks wrong. And the specular highlights is something that we've never seen before either.
Yeah.
They're really good. And even in SDR, right? We're seeing really good, and you know, HDR and Dolby Vision. It's just really spectacular. So I think overall it calibrates nicely. You know, not as good as the Panasonic, but it's pretty damn close. And again, you know, we're talking about, you know, minutia. You know, it's stuff you can't see anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's way below delta E of 3. I'd say, yeah, it's easy to say. I mean, it's clearly, it's like super bright.
Yeah.
So what it was 1300.
It was, I got, on Vivid, it was like 1290 to 1300, you know. I think I measured up to 1320 or 1340.
Yeah.
It moves around, because when it gets up that high, it's not stable, you know.
Yeah.
And it was 7080 calibrated, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
So
So with the upgrade over last year's A8?
A8H, yeah. So it's an upgrade, definitely. I mean, it's brighter. I mean, it's the specular highlights. There's just many things that are different. It's
the
close.
Processing is cleaner.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's not that the A8H is no good. It's a good set. You know, is this to me is a little bit. It's like an upgrade, in a couple of different ways. You know, brightness isn't everything, but the specular highlights are crazy. You know, it's the picture processing, which is really good. And again, you know, we saw a whole bunch of A8Hs, and we saw a lot of panels that were like, not bad, but they weren't perfect like this one was, right?
This one's very clean.
We just pulled it right out of the box. So I think it's a winner, in my mind, and I'm pretty pleased. It would have been nice if we would have had 900 nits, right?
Yes.
But you don't know. The one thing you don't know is the specular highlights may be 900 or 1,000, right? We don't know, right? You can't measure that. Or it's difficult, really, to measure that properly. And again, the other thing I noticed, too, and I think Dwayne and I talked about this, is that when you put up a static test pattern, even if it's tiny, the set interprets it differently than a specular highlight that its processing says, this is a specular highlight.
That's right.
Make this super bright, right? You can't make the set do that, right? So with a test pattern.
But even though it doesn't measure a whole lot brighter, it appears to look much brighter.
Yeah, even in the accurate mode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that right away the minute we turned it on.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and for all those future visitors that'll be viewing. But if you're looking to buy a new TV, this is probably one of, if not the best choices for 2021. And we'll be looking forward to testing C1s and G1s and A80s and Z9Js and all the rest of the new TVs, the 95J, the 90J. We'll be announcing on March 20th a lot of the pricing and availability on all the other sizes and models. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Give me a call or send me an email if you have any questions.
Thanks for hanging out with us for almost 3 hours. See you in the next video.